Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's White Cheddar. I am east of Amarillo, and I'm taking my 30. Alright, truckers, where were we? Let's see, yesterday we were talking about, that's right, we're on part 2 of the Ballad of White Cheddar. We left off, I had just turned 30. Just got 30, got married, was managing a truck stop in Weatherford. Kind of life was coming together, had 3 kids at home, paying child support on one. And my wife was on maternity leave she was real good with UPS. They had her on maternity leave for, it was like 6 or 9 months after Bradley was born. But what we found out was it is a whole hell of a lot easier to have mama just stay home. Just go ahead and quit her job, stay home. We had 2 kids going through middle school, going into high school, plus a newborn baby. The only problem was I didn't make enough money as a manager of a truck stop. I mean, I think I was making around $60,000 at the time, but it just wasn't quite enough for what we were doing. So, I talked to some other drivers, some oil field drivers, which I said is pretty big in Oklahoma, Texas, pretty good money. But you're away from home for, days at a time. And I really wasn't sure about that. I didn't know how my wife, my kids would feel about it, but, gotta do what you gotta do. Convinced my wife to let me give it a shot. So I knew I wanted to go on the oil field, but I didn't know who I wanted to work for. There's a crap load of companies out here. There's frac crews, there's regular oil field crews, there's pipeline crews, there's frac crews, there's sand hauling crews, there's water hauling. They're home every night. There's all this broad. So I really had to do my homework, and I talked to a lot of employers around there. Kind of figured out salaries. Of course, they always tell you what the highest earner, of their drivers makes, or the top 2 earners, and so I was like, yeah, that money will work. I went around and I couldn't decide, and the way that I decided was close to the trailer park we lived at. There was a frac sand company that had all their trucks lined up one after another right along the highway. Like, the drivers would get in at the end of the day and they each had their own parking spot. Well, then they had a light that shine on the front of that truck, and they were all Peterbilts with bulk pneumatic tank trailers on them, and they were all red. They were uniform, they were clean. This guy, I think, knew. I thought, this guy's got his shit together. All these other oil field trucks I see are all dirty, nasty. There's crap all over them, things falling off their trucks. But this fleet looked good. So I went in and talked to him. His name was Slick, and best boss I ever had. Just a very smart guy. He knew the business. There's a reason they called him Slick, because he could get the work for us. He could get the work, but here I am, a greenhorn. Never been in the oil field before. Hauled some beer in the past. Was a pretty good driver. No accidents. I'd probably working on over 500,000 miles by that time. Probably closer to 1 million, I'd say. But 8 or 9 years of 250, 300 miles a day on the beer route. So it added up. He looked me over. I come in. I'm always shirt tucked in. I got my steel toes on. Nice, groomed. Went in, interviewed with them, and he was, he's like, man, I don't know, and he's like, I got 1 spot left, and at this point I'm like, well, I appreciate your time, appreciate the opportunity. I understand I don't have any oil field experience. Maybe I need to go haul water or do something, but I think he knew that, okay, this kid's hungry. This kid wants to work. I say kid, I was 30 years old. And, I told him, I was like, 3 kids at home, pay child support. I need to work. Because frac sand hauling was paid commission, so you got paid by the load. loaded miles, what we called it. But you know, the more loads you get, the more you make, and that's perfect for me as a salesman, because with the beer company, the more beer I sold, the more money I made. I think when I was with beer, I was making 27 cents for every case I sold. So, you know, I try to bust out 700 cases, you know, all the way up to 1,000 cases. If I needed to make money or a holiday was coming up, I could boost my income a little bit off commission. Well, in this line of trucking, it was straight commission, and he said he would start me out at 25% or 25% of what the truck makes, which was pretty good rate, you know, for a guy that had never got in the business. And you know, it may have been a little lower than that. It may have been about 23% or 23% of what the truck made, regardless company driver job. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, he's like, when can you start? And I had already gave the truck stop a month notice. Everybody I've ever worked for, I've given them a 1 month notice, or tried to let them know that, hey, here in another month, I'm going to be moving on. Just try to take care of them. You know, my resume has every boss I ever worked for on it, and you call them, they'll tell you exactly what I'll do for them. So anyways, he called me back. You know, I got my drug test out of the way, DOT physical. I had to get a mask that filtered out silica sand. You know, this was all new to me. Of course, I get my hard hat, you know, the green hard hat. I have to wear that for a while. And he put me into another truck with a guy named Charlie Mackey. And Charlie, to this day, is a good friend of mine. He trained me for, I think it was 2 weeks. We lived in that truck for 2 weeks. It had a sleeper in the back, but, you know, I would work 10 hours. I'd haul 2 or 3 loads. Charlie would get some sleep. We'd swap off. You know, we did all legal. Now, keep in mind, I say legal, but oil fields, it is oil field. You can get around shit. Especially back then, because we had paper logs, and I'm not condemning running logs outside. That's not this kind of channel. We obey the laws here. But back then, it was the wild fucking west, and especially in Oklahoma and Texas, it was just the oil fields were blowing up. They were fracking all these well sites, all these old well sites, new well sites. There was fracking going on everywhere. So when they frack a well, they keep silos out there that keep about, you know, anywhere from, you know, 500,000 pounds to 1 million pounds of sand on location. So me and Charlie, he would take me out there, and we get there, we'd get backed up to them silos and get in the positions, and we would pre-fill the location. They'd have the silos set up first thing, so we'd fill that up, about 20 truckloads, about 1 million pounds of sand. And then we might have a day off, you know, or you might have 20 hours off before they actually start fracking, because they got to set all their equipment up. So, you know, doing the pre-fills wasn't a big hurry. You know, we had 26 drivers, so you kind of wanted everybody to get a piece of that. And, of course, we had 2 or 3 locations going on at a time. So after we pre-filled the sand and they kicked off and they started running, we started what was called drag loads. And what a drag load is they're using per stage. They might have 30 stages to do. It might take them 5 hours to do a stage and then a 2-hour break. But in that 5 stages, they're going to use 250,000 pounds of sand. Pumping the shit in the ground. I mean, I never knew there was so much money in sand. It still blows my mind to this day how much sand we moved from one part of the earth to another part of the earth just to put it back down into the earth. It's crazy, but lots of money in frac sand. So when the drag loads would kick off, the name of the game was grab a gear and go, and keep your doors shut. You don't stop. The truck stops, you run, because you might be, you know, the load facility might be, let's just say 60 miles away, make it easy. So it's about an hour away, hour and 15 minutes away. So it's an hour and 15 back round trip. Takes you about an hour to load. Sometimes you get hot up in the line, maybe 2 hours to load. So anyways, 2-hour round trip driving, hour to load, then an hour to unload it. You get back to location, you'd hook up a hose on your trailer, you'd kick in a PTO, which is a power takeoff. It's a separate axle that you can put your truck into gear, flip in the PTO, it'll lock in a separate axle, and that separate axle runs a blower, and that blower is what we use to pressurize the sand and pressurize the hoses to blow the sand into the silos. So you get there and you get it all set up and watch your gauges, unload your product. It'll take you anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how much hose you had laid out. And once you're unloaded, you call dispatch and said, hey, I'm empty, I need another. So, you're 4 hours for that 60-mile, round trip, load, unload. You could do 3 in a day if you were fast, if you kept your doors shut and you went, Well, and that's what I did, and I'll never forget, bills were tight when I started that job. We're in a bigger house now. The kids were getting bigger, they're eating more, just more insurance payment. You know how it is. The more kids you have, the more everything costs. So, I remember money being really tight. And I remember getting back after 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks in training, Slick said, we're just going to pay you hourly for the whole time you're out, And I was like, well, what do you mean, like 10 hours a day or 12? And he's like, no, fuck 24. If you're out for 24 hours, I'm going to pay you for 24 hours. What? My ass didn't come home for 2 weeks. I slept in the passenger seat. Charlie let me sleep on his bed once he felt a little more comfortable with me. I wasn't a nasty motherfucker. But, I stayed out for 2 weeks. And I remember getting that first check, and it was like, for that 2 weeks worth of work, it was like $5,000 or something. And I just broke down crying. I was like, once again, trucking saved my life. Things get, when money gets tight, you start hurting, you start getting depressed, you can get some anxiety, but there's always a seat out there for you somewhere. If you're a good worker and you show up, you're tidy, you look good, you're professional about your profession, there's a seat out there for you. I always told young people that I'm around, having that CDL will always guarantee you $1,000 a week. And if you can't live off of $1,000 a week, you're doing something wrong, And of course, I was doing a little wrong, bought a nice truck and, probably didn't do the best with my money. I was still pretty young, but anyways, we were making it as a family. We were growing bigger. We were moving on, and now I had the job to make the ends meet. Had my wife staying home now to where she could take care of the kids, get them raised, and man, I grabbed a gear. I don't know about statute of limitations or nothing. I'm not going to say nothing because that was back then. We're just going to leave it back then. But I made money. That's when I learned over the road. And that's where I had the best groups of guys around me, knowledgeable. We had an awesome mechanic, and his son was the mechanic that took care of our 26 trucks. But I learned how to take care of my truck, because if I broke down, if I had, a tire go flat or something, remember, I'm trying to get 3 loads a day, and by this time I switched to commission, so you're making, $200 a load or $250 a load. So if you're not running, you're not making money. So you really got used to, while you were unloading your truck and it take 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, you're walking that truck, you're looking down, you're getting under there with your 7/16 socket, tightening brakes, backing them off, getting your blinkers cleaned off, keep your DOT numbers clean, keep the front clean. And this is all stuff that I learned from the guys around me. And the reason I say they were great guys, and it was a great crew to work with, because as soon as you got to location and the company man called you in, there might be 2 other trucks sitting there unloading. So one of our guys would tell the other guy, hey, watch my stuff. So one guy would watch kind of 2 trucks going. He'd walk up, get in front of my truck, start backing me up, telling me which way he wanted my trailer to go. Till I was getting close, and the guy that was unloading already was standing back there watching me back up. So I had 2 spotters backing me in. And these oil field locations are tight. Sometimes you only got 3 inches on each side. You got to squeeze in between 2 trucks. So you really had to trust those guys that were looking for you, spotting for you. You're checking your mirrors. You're in granny gear. You're creeping like half a mile an hour backwards, just slowly getting it in there. You know, the guy's giving you signals back and it tells you stop. You're in. Good job. It was difficult backing sometimes. And of course, sometimes you'd get those geared company guys trying to back you in. They're all, fucking giving you, and, I would get out of my truck. I go tell that guy to go sit down, go have a cigarette. I'll get one of my guys. And sure enough, one of our guys would come over and help me back in. So driving a beer truck, I never really had to back that much. It was pretty much you just pull into a parking lot in a way that you can leave without having to back, or, and it was pretty much the same thing every week. It was a route. It was routine. So I really hadn't done a whole lot of backing, and I learned fucking quick, and I learned from the best, and never was in an uncomfortable situation. There's a few times I'm a little puckered, it's tight. Flashers all going. You got oil field equipment going on around you guys walking around, big night lights in your eyes, but I trusted my guys, and they did me good, and I never had any accidents with that job. And I learned a lot. Of course, when you'd run hard, you'd get tired. I learned how to deal with that, how to learn with fatigue, how to keep fresh. I'd work out on location while I was unloading. After I checked my truck all out, I might do some push-ups and sit-ups, keep the blood flowing, lots of water. I'd eat right. Pretty much just running. But the oil fields was a wild beast. I learned a lot there, but I learned how to hustle. And that's what you got to do as a driver. If you don't know something, you ask somebody that does know. And I was surrounded by the guys. I asked everybody everything every day. I asked Slick how this worked. Why do we bill this way? Why did this customer do that? Why did they have us doing this? That's the key to trucking. If you don't know, you ask somebody that does know. Because most truckers, like myself, we like to talk about what we do. And I always have time to answer a question from a younger driver or somebody that doesn't know something, because I might know it. So you have to learn that. You have to humble yourself when you start becoming a driver, and as your career's progression, you have to realize that you don't know shit. It takes a long time to gain all that knowledge. It takes a lot of your truck breaking down, another person's truck breaking down, helping him out fix it, to this guy's, we need to chamber his brakes so we can get him off the gate, and just all kinds of stuff can happen in the oil field with them rough lease roads. And our equipment was always, put through hell going down them roads, but it was really good, and I did good for Slick for about 3 years. Now the oil fields, it comes in cycles. It's a boom and bust cycle. You'll have 2-3 good years, and then it'll kind of mellow out, and your checks will start getting smaller, less loads. And that's what happened with us. The company I worked for was Francis Drilling Fluids out of Louisiana, and I really appreciate the Francis family. They ran a great operation. They had, I think, 13 or 15 different yards and different oil patches, all the way down South Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, all the way up, Pennsylvania, Wyoming. They had yards everywhere. So they had 200 or 300 trucks at one time. But I think the Francis family decided to get out of the business, and they sold the company to a profit group. And if you don't know what a profit group is, it's pretty much just a group of millionaires that pool their money together and they buy companies. So they bought the whole trucking side of the company. They kept the name. They kept, my boss. We all kept our jobs. But there was new management, and we went through about a year with that. And of course, it starts slowing down. It's like, fuck, it's getting hard to make money. I'm talking to Slick, like, I got to figure out something, because at this time I've been doing this for 3 years, making this great money. Put another car in the driveway, a little bit bigger house. We moved to a 2-story house, with the kids, and life's just rock and rolling. Kids are starting to get into high school, growing up, so the dollar wasn't stretching as far. So anyways, I remember the checks were getting a little low, and they came up with the newsletter. They were going to stop matching our 401k, which they matched up to 5%, which I took advantage of. But that was kind of a telltale sign. And in most businesses, if you're getting that benefit and they come out and they say, hey guys, this year we're not going to be able to match your 401, that's kind of the time you need to start thinking, like, I need an exit strategy. And that's what I did. you know, I kind of seen the writing on the wall. Now, Slick, he did offer me a dispatch position there, so I got out of the truck and I did dispatching for a little while. But then they later decided to consolidate dispatching into one central hub for multiple yards instead of each yard having their own dispatcher. So, but yeah, there for a while, for 5 or 6 months, I was 24/7 dispatching 26 trucks. You know, keeping them running, trying to keep them fed, and dealt with that aspect of the business. It was good to learn all that, and it's good to know that I could do that. I appreciated the opportunity to do that. So it just increased my knowledge, increased my knowledge of the trucking industry. So anyways, I had to, after that dispatch, they consolidated that. They said, like, well, you can get back in the truck if you want. And I was like, nah, you know, I see where we're at. And sure enough, it was another 2 years of no oil field, just a bust. Nobody's hardly making much money. You could still make $1,000, $1,200 a week, but if you're only going to make that, you might as well be home driving local. So I ended up moving to Butler, downsizing to a smaller house, and went to work for the water company and ran 2 different water systems for some municipalities and some rural customers. Had a $500,000 grant that I implemented, replaced meters, and did a bunch of stuff for the community that I was moving to. Again, they didn't really pay a whole lot, but it didn't cost me a whole lot to live there because we had downsized. We had, you know, made some adjustments. The kids were kind of teenagers now, so they were able to drive, and they would stay with their dad in the other town a lot. And so it was really just my boy Bradley, and then Lizzie's kids, older kids, would come every now and then. But you know, not quite as taxing. So I did that for a couple years. And it was nice. It was a nice break from over the road because I'd missed so many birthdays, so many, you know, funerals, and just stuff in life that I just, you know, I needed to get out of the truck anyway for a couple of years. So walked away from that, did the water for a couple of years, and then got that itch, man. Once you're a driver for a while and you do the over road, you get the itch, and it's true. I mean, it's you start thinking about the open road, that good sleep you get in sleeper berth, just the money that you make better, and sure enough, the oil field in Oklahoma started picking up a little bit. I get a few buddies calling me saying, hey, we're making money. All right, let's talk about it. So, you know, I always run over the numbers. What are y'all doing per week? How do you know? And just doing the math on everything. Of course, run it by the wife. I'm just like, hey, you know, the guys want me to get back in the truck. We're going to do this. And she's like, yeah, go, you know, if I can get out of here. She's never had a problem with me going and staying out for, you know, at that time we were doing 6 days on and 2 days off, so it wasn't bad. But I'd be gone for 6 days, come home for 2, rotating schedule. So got back into it for another 1.5 years, 2 years, just wahooing it, you know, making money again, having a good time with my buddies, just working 24/7. Well, the E-logs hit, and that changed everything once again. We're making good money. There's times you could run. There's loads to be grabbed. There's all-you-can-eat buffet of loads, like just as many as you want. But now we're tethered. Because used to, you know, you might run 2 loads, but you'd show up on location and there'd be 12 trucks in a row waiting to get unloaded. And remember I said it takes an hour to unload, so they were doing 3 at a time. So you could do the math. Okay, it's going to be 4 hours before they're going to pull me in to unload. So as soon as I got there and see 14 trucks, the first thing you do is park behind that guy, you crawl in the back and you go to sleep and get a 3-hour nap. Okay, somebody's going to come and bang on your door and wake you up. Okay, I'm up. You pull up, you unload for an hour. Now you're fresh. So now you just run and go get another load and come back, you know, and maybe another load. You know, eventually you got to take a 10-hour break. But the E-logs messed all that up. You couldn't do that no more. We used to work our paper logs pretty good to keep running. And of course, the oil field has some funky laws, and I won't really get into it here, but there was ways. It was called the Line 5 exemption is what we could use to push our logs out and do what we needed to do. And then, you know, not saying I ever did or nothing, but, you know, at the end of the day, you just rip that fucking page out and rewrite it. and give yourself a 10-hour break to keep yourself available for more work. I never did that. I know people who did all the time. So, anyways, yeah, the E-log came around, and my money just started going down, man. Started going down. So, it got to a point where I was like, I'm going to have to figure out something. If I'm only going to make $1,200 a week or something, I'll go home and work for whoever. And that's what I did. I came back home, and I went to work for just a packaged ice company, sells bags of ice to convenience stores. A local guy, a friend of my mom, he put me to work. And like I said, it's $1,200 a week, $1,300 a week. So it was fine. I could live off that, but it was tight. You never really have any extra. It's hard to invest for retirement. And, I did good for him for one season. I say one season because ice really only sells in the summertime. In the wintertime, you're only getting 40 hours, so you might only get an $800 paycheck those winter months. So I didn't do good through that winter. I got depressed. I just, just things just kind of fell apart for me, and I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. Well, I had learned through the grapevine that Slick had moved down to Midland and Odessa to run their big yard down there. He'd got a promotion, went down there, but they had closed down the Clinton yard, the Oklahoma yard. So the Oklahoma boys had to go down to Midland, Odessa if they wanted to work, because it's always oil fieldy down there. But got to talking to a few of them, and hey man, we're making money. I'm like, oh shit, So I was like, yeah, let's another fucking Yahoo, man. Let's do it. So I went down there. It just started right back in the groove, man. Right with my buddies, got my rig all set up, got the everything set up, all my tools with me, and after about 3 or 4 months of being down in Midland, Odessa, I was going to do like 3 weeks on and 1 week off. I was going to go down there and make a shitload of money in 3 weeks and come home. And was doing that, was working my ass off down there, and COVID hit. Yeah. Just another fucking day in White Cheddar history. COVID hit, and I don't know if y'all remember, but nobody fucking went anywhere during COVID. So all the oil reserves that we had filled up. The oil field just fucking stopped dead. And I couldn't give a month on that notice. I couldn't live off that. They guaranteed us $1,000 a week, but I'm not. That's $3,000 a month. If I work 3 weeks and then take a week off, that's $3,000 a month. There ain't no way. I can go home. So it broke my heart, man. COVID broke my heart, because that was good times down, and I knew it was going to be good. So I went back to Oklahoma, tail between my legs, didn't know what I was going to do. Got on Indeed and got a job with Frito-Lay. And that's where the name White Cheddar came from. I've always been a good salesman and building displays and putting things. Well, I don't know how it came about. I don't know but anyways, there's a type of chip called White Cheddar Smart Food. And it was dog shit. It didn't sell for shit. It was popcorn with some white cheddar on it, and it was just a dog shit. Didn't sell. But I tell the motherfuckers on my other bench, I'd be like, I can sell it. Yeah, give me 8 cases of it. And these guys are like, oh, he's crazy. But I went out, I hustled, I marketed it, I displayed it, I promoted it. I went out and hustled it, and I sold the shit out of some white cheddar. And since then, they've always called me White Cheddar, because I'm all about getting that money. Again, Frito-Lay was a commission job. It had a base pay plus commission and bonuses, which, of course, I just blew it up, man. I made good money all the way for that 1.5 to 2 years I was there. But Frito-Lay kind of changed the paradigm of selling. They kind of took a lot of the you'd have to order your own stuff to sell, and then sell it and into the stores, but you'd have to order your own product and then stock the stores, and you couldn't get what you needed, and they cut your hands so much that you just couldn't make money. But long story short was, they didn't want good salesmen. They just wanted people who could go push the buttons and say, okay, 5 bags would fit there, scan it, 5 bags would fit there. They took all the salesmanship out of it, and It just wasn't me, and the money, it was all right. And this is just a few years back now. I think, let's see, 2 or 3 years back. I'm 44 now, so did the Frito gig for a little while, stayed in shape, did it, and it's getting to that point. I was like, I know I can make more money in this. I got a CDL, and it wasn't a CDL job. You just drove a little chip truck, But I was making like $65,000 doing that, so it wasn't bad. We were getting by fine, had insurance, all the good stuff. By this time too, Lizzie's 2 kids, Seth and Adrian, they were grown. We got them through high school, graduation, got them. Adrian went on to college. Seth went into the oil field to do oil field shit. He's still doing good. He went into that and never looked back. So he's doing real good. Adrian graduated college. She's done with college now, and she's doing good. So that just leaves Bradley at the house. By this time I was done paying child support too, so I didn't have that payment every month. And 40 past, that 10 years just blurred by in the oil field. I learned so damn much, and I made so much money and so much experience that I was truly blessed to land that job at FDF with Slick. He really did me good. And every time I want to come back to the oil field, come on, let's make money. I loved it. So after Frito-Lay, I got another itch, man. I got another itch. So I had a buddy I worked with at FDF that he had bought his own truck to be owner-operator, because you can get a bigger percentage instead of 25, or you can make up to 70% of what the truck makes. The company you lease on to still keeps some of it for insurance and other shit, but I learned that aspect of the owner-operator. I went down there. His son already had a truck that was paid off. He had bought a truck, and he wanted me to come down there and run his son's truck so his son could go do some military shit. He was still active, or trying to finish up his 20 years in the military. So I was like, got that it? Hell yeah. I told Frito-Lay kick rocks, nothing against them. Gave him a notice, trained a couple guys, cleaned up some routes for them. Then I went down to San Antonio to work down there, and I worked down there for about 8 or 9 months here. It's been 2 years ago. It was making a lot of money, but what happened down there is it's just so cutthroat. Everybody talks about trucking being so cutthroat and so hard to make it as owner-operators or small businesses, and it is. You've got to be on top of everything if you're going to make it as an owner-operator or a small business, and you want to scale up and grow. And it's a grind. It's a grind over and over. And your days off, you're doing maintenance, and you're doing accounting work. You're doing your business side of it, and God bless all our owner-operators, man. My mom was a CPA, and she worked with owner-operators and just these small companies. So I've seen the books. I know working for Bill down there and with him, there was times it was 110 in San Antonio, but I would work the night because they do 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and I'd work until into the morning. And I'd get off around 6 or 7 in the morning, and I'd kill the truck. I'd get in the sleeper, open some doors, try to get a little breeze, just to keep air flowing through there to keep me cool. Had a little fan that would keep me cool. Well, of course, about noon, it's 110 degrees, so I got to get up, start the truck. But just trying to save diesel, just trying to save 5-10 gallons of diesel. And you do that every day incrementally, just because I know how hard it is to get a truck up and running. Of course, the truck I was in, it had just got a new motor in it, new used motor, and got it all in there. We had to replace coolant lines. I had hydraulic lines break. I went through that whole truck, front to back, all the way through the trailer, and just making money, and making Bill money. That we could buy 4 new tires. Then we go another week or two, and we could buy 4 more drive tires, so now we had 8 matching tires. And then just work a few more weeks, water cooler, work a few more weeks, air compressor. We just went through that truck front to back, got it, and it was nice. Boy, it was a nice truck. But he did me really good on that. I made a lot of money, but again, It's cutthroat business, and there were so many drivers down there, and so many people who were cutting the rates for the, on the bids for the jobs, and it started good, it was good, and it started getting, and it just got cutthroat, and I'm back to thinking about, well, what am I going to do? Of course, Bill, he would have done anything for me. He was talking about, well, let's just get a flatbed. Let's just go do some flatbed for a while. And I'm like, hell yeah, man. If we can make money, let's do it. And I hated it, but I had gotten an offer from Oklahoma. It was a local job, which is the job I'm working now. It's a restaurant chain out of Oklahoma. They've got 140 stores, I think. They got a lot of stores. Anyways, they've got a lot of drivers too, but it's a dedicated gig. It's I work 4 days on, 2 days off overnight. I deliver groceries to their stores overnight, wheel the shit into the back of the stores. So I unload a whole semi-trailer, 48-foot trailer every night of milk and grocery and everything for their restaurant / grocery store. But it's real good. I couldn't pass up the money. It's one of them jobs that I could probably work this till I retire, or at least till 55 or another 10 years or so. So I'm really happy where I'm at now. But that kind of catches you up to now. So again, if you're watching this video, you've seen the first video, I appreciate you hanging out. These videos were recorded a couple weeks ago. I'm going to try to stay a couple weeks ahead on doing interviews of other drivers, but I want to hear y'all's story. I want to hear driver stories of maybe they're an owner-operator. Maybe they've only been a company man their whole life. Maybe they manage a truck stop. Maybe, I want to hear you guys' story, and that's what this podcast is designed and going to be set up to do. It's just to tell this tale of American truck driver or European truck drivers. I don't care. Any truck drivers, holler at me, leave a comment, like the channel, and leave a comment down below that maybe you'd like to be an interview, and I will get you the address to the Discord server. Actually, I'm just going to put the Discord server in the description below. Y'all log on there. I got voice chat channels. I got text channels that we can talk about things, but I'm going to use the Discord chat program to do interviews with these other people. So really appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to put out as much content as I can. Like I said, it's a 30-minute break, so I'm taking my 30. It's about up. Actually, I'm overdue. I got to get my ass going and make some cheddar. All right, y'all keep your head on a swivel and keep the shiny side up. Talk to you later.